Before I begin this video, I want to give special thanks to Iron Age Media. They recently allowed me to write and post a promotional article for my campaign on their website. I've also been a regular contributor to their weekly literature prompts, along with a bunch of other up-and-coming writers. So if you ever feel the need for a quick, fun read, check out their website. We've got a growing pool of talent contributing to Iron Age Media, and somebody needs to talk about them. Anyway, today's promotional video is going to be about the concept of uplifted apes in Babylon Rocker and where they came from. For one thing, it's not Planet of the Apes. That's both an obvious and fair assumption, but it is ultimately incorrect. I've cited animation, comics, and games for my inspirations thus far. Now I dive into literature, my preferred realm of expertise, specifically David Brin and the Uplift universe. David Brin has been a sci-fi author for a fairly long time. Outside of hardcore science fiction aficionados, I'm not sure exactly how well known he is, particularly compared to past greats like, say, Asimov or Frank Herbert. One thing that I am aware he is known for, generally, is that he was the guy who wrote The Postman, which is in turn known mostly because of a pretty bad film adaptation starring Kevin Costner. However, his most noteworthy literary accomplishment within science fiction circles is the Uplift universe. In the Uplift universe, galactic civilization is driven by the eponymous act of uplift. A highly advanced technological race known as a patron species will find a potential pre-sapient species known as a client species and uplift them, genetically modify them so that they are fully sentient. In return for the great privilege of sapience, the client race will serve the patron race in a kind of indentured status for 100,000 years. Besides the obvious benefit of this 100,000-year indenture, a patron race gains great prestige by uplifting more and more client races. And this kind of patronage results in client and patron species often uniting into political blocks known as clans. According to tradition, this uplift civilization was begun over 2 billion years ago by a now extinct and wholly mysterious race known only as the progenitors, whom a lot of the current galactic civilizations view in a kind of reverential religious sense. However, things have recently gotten awkward with the appearance of the so-called Earth Clan, comprised of humanity and two species that it has managed to uplift to sapience, neo-chimpanzees and neo-dolphins. The Earth Clan is deemed problematic for two reasons. One, the fact that they don't go in for the whole 100,000-year indentured servitude thing, and so don't hold either the neo-chimpanzees or the neo-dolphins in bondage the way that most client races are held by their patron races, and the fact that nobody knows who uplifted the humans. So far as can be determined, there is no evidence of whoever humanity's patron race might have been. This has led some humans to put forward the idea that maybe they just evolved sapience naturally without a patron, but many of the alien races in the Uplift universe view this opinion as blasphemy, while some of the more unscrupulous civilizations want to use this particular ambiguity of humanity's origins to claim patron status over the entire Earth Clan. Naturally, the humans object to this, which is the driving cause of some of the conflicts in the early books. In terms of inspiration, I point specifically to the second Uplift book, Startide Rising, where the crew of an Earth Clan ship, mostly comprised of neo-dolphins but with a few humans and one neo-chimpanzee, fleeing from a bunch of angry alien races, are stranded on a remote planet for a while. While they have achieved full sapience, the neo-dolphins' uplift still requires a few generations of genetic ironing out, as it were. And in a few scenarios, under extreme stress, the neo-dolphins essentially lose their intelligence and revert briefly to a kind of animalistic primal state. This became the key inspiration for the uplifted apes of Babylon Rocker and the character of Julius Quan in particular. Evolution is a very slow process, but it does give an evolving species plenty of time to work out the kinks in its new developments and either thrive or die off because survival of the fittest. The kind of radical genetic engineering used to uplift gorillas, chimpanzees, and orangutans in Babylon Rocker means that human intellect has essentially been grafted onto brains that aren't yet fully developed to take them. It's kind of like uploading software into a hardware system that's not quite designed to take it. And so, as a consequence, 1 in 4 sentient apes, including Julius, suffer from what is known as atavism syndrome, or AS, a mental condition whereby under certain stimuli, usually stress, an ape temporarily loses his intellect and reverts back to being a dumb animal. Being one of those 1 in 4, atavism syndrome is something that Julius has struggled with his whole life, and something that he continues to struggle with even as he and the rest of the crew try to make a living for themselves on the fringe. If Babylon Rocker ever does get off the ground and becomes the long-running series I hope it to become, then you better believe that there's going to be plenty of stories where he's going to be struggling with this problem. But that can only be made possible by supporting the Kickstarter. Thank you and good night.